Right now, as you listen to these words, something extraordinary is happening inside your head. Billions of neurons are firing in intricate patterns. Electrical signals are racing through pathways you will never see. And somehow, from all that silent activity, the experience of being you emerges. You feel. You remember. You wonder. Yet the machine that creates your entire reality remains largely hidden from you, working in the background, shaping every thought, every emotion, every decision you make. Tonight, we journey inward, into the quiet landscape of the human mind. We will explore over 100 calming facts about psychology, about how you think, how you feel, how you remember, and how you sometimes trick yourself without even knowing it. There is no test at the end, no pressure to remember anything, just the gentle pleasure of understanding yourself a little better. So let your breathing slow, let your body sink into wherever you are resting, and let these facts drift over you like clouds passing across a quiet sky. The mind is a beautiful mystery, and tonight we explore it together. Welcome to Drowsy Discovery. I am glad you found your way here tonight. Perhaps you have had a long day. Perhaps you simply enjoy falling asleep to thoughts about how the mind works. Either way, this journey is for you. There is something profoundly peaceful about contemplating the inner world. Every fact about the brain is a reminder that you carry within you the most complex structure in the known universe. And it is always working, always dreaming, always creating the world you experience. So settle in. Let the weight of the day drift away. And let us begin with the first of many gentle truths about the human mind. People are more honest late at night. As the day wears on, mental filters and social masks begin to loosen. Late at night, when fatigue lowers inhibition and self-monitoring, people often speak more directly and reveal thoughts they might guard during daylight hours. This does not mean every night conversation is unfiltered truth, but the reduced cognitive control can make honesty come more easily. Psychologists also suggest that the quiet, intimate atmosphere of nighttime encourages openness, fewer distractions, dimmer light, the sense that the world is at rest. In these hours, conversations can drift into personal territory, sometimes deepening connections in unexpected ways. Many people know the feeling. Words flowing more freely under the cover of darkness, as if the mind relaxes into its natural rhythm and guarded thoughts finally step into the open. Multitasking makes your memory less reliable. While it might feel efficient, juggling multiple tasks at once can weaken how well we remember them. The brain's attention system works best when focused, and dividing it forces information to compete for mental resources. This can result in memories that are less detailed or even missing entirely. For example, trying to check messages while listening to a friend can lead to forgetting key parts of the conversation. Studies show that frequent multitaskers may even struggle to filter out irrelevant information, making concentration harder over time. The allure of multitasking lies in its sense of productivity. But the mind records life more richly when it is given the chance to linger on one thing at a time. In a world that demands constant switching, choosing to do one thing slowly can feel like a luxury, and one your memory will thank you for. Touch from another person can lessen physical pain. The warmth of a hand on your shoulder or someone holding your hand can do more than comfort. It can change how your brain perceives pain. Physical touch activates sensory pathways that compete with pain signals, reducing their intensity. It also triggers the release of oxytocin, a hormone linked to bonding and stress reduction. In one study, couples who held hands during a painful experience not only reported less discomfort, but their brainwaves began to synchronize. This suggests that touch does not just soothe emotionally. It can create a shared physiological state that eases suffering. In moments of distress, a gentle touch can act as both shield and anchor, reminding the body that it is not alone. Sometimes the simplest gestures carry the deepest healing power. Scent can influence decisions without your awareness. Smells often bypass conscious thought, traveling straight to brain regions involved in emotion and memory. This direct route means scent can influence mood and behavior without us realizing it. In experiments, pleasant ambient scents in stores have been shown to increase the likelihood of purchases, while the smell of cleaning products can lead people to tidy up more. These subtle effects work because scent can prime certain thoughts or associations. Lavender may induce calm. Citrus may signal freshness and energy. While we often think of decisions as purely rational, the truth is that invisible sensory cues can tip the scales. Becoming aware of this influence can be empowering, allowing us to recognize when our choices are being swayed by the quiet language of scent. Believing you slept well improves your performance. In a curious twist of psychology, simply believing you have slept well can improve performance and mood the next day, even if you have not. In one study, participants told they had above-average sleep quality performed better on cognitive tests, regardless of their actual sleep. This effect, known as placebo sleep, shows how expectation can shape mental and physical states. The brain uses belief as a shortcut, adjusting energy levels and focus based on perceived rest. Of course, genuine sleep is irreplaceable for health. But this phenomenon reveals the mind's surprising ability to influence how the body feels. It suggests that part of rest comes not just from hours of sleep, but from the story we tell ourselves about that rest. Your mind can sense when someone is watching you. Many people have experienced the uncanny feeling of being watched, only to turn and find it is true. While science has not fully explained this, some research suggests that subtle cues may alert us unconsciously. A shift in shadows, changes in peripheral vision, perhaps even faint sounds we do not consciously register. The brain is finely tuned to detect social attention, as knowing when eyes are on us has been vital throughout human history. Evolutionary psychologists propose that this sensitivity helped our ancestors avoid predators and navigate complex social interactions. Whether through buried perception or a deeper instinct, the sensation can be so compelling that it prompts action before conscious thought catches up. A quiet nudge from our more ancient selves. Body language reveals feelings you have not admitted to yourself. Posture, gestures, and micro-expressions often reveal emotions we have not consciously acknowledged. For example, crossed arms may signal defensiveness, while subtle shifts in tone can indicate unease. Psychologists note that these cues are sometimes visible to others before they are clear to us, providing an external mirror of our internal state. Becoming aware of your own body language can reveal hidden stress, attraction, or excitement. Likewise, reading the nonverbal signals of others can help deepen empathy and understanding. This silent language operates in parallel with speech, and sometimes speaks more honestly than words. In moments of self-reflection, imagining how your body holds itself can be like overhearing your mind's unspoken thoughts. Familiar scents can unlock memories buried for decades. The human sense of smell is wired deeply into the brain's memory systems. Unlike sight or sound, scent bypasses much of the brain's usual processing routes and connects straight to the limbic system, the seat of emotion and long-term memory. This is why a faint whiff of perfume, fresh rain on pavement, or a childhood meal cooking can feel like a time machine. These scent-triggered memories are often vivid, detailed, and emotional, even if the moment they recall is decades old. Psychologists call this the Proust effect, named after the author who famously wrote of tasting a madeleine and being swept into his childhood. Such moments remind us that our minds are not simple filing cabinets. They are living landscapes, and scents are like keys that can open locked doors, allowing forgotten feelings to step quietly back into the present. Lucid dreaming allows you to control the dream world. In lucid dreams, you become aware that you are dreaming, and with that awareness, you can sometimes shape the dream itself. People who experience lucid dreaming report flying over mountains, breathing underwater, or rewriting the events of their dream as they happen. Psychologists believe lucid dreams arise when parts of the brain linked to self-awareness become active during sleep, while the dream state continues. For some, these dreams happen naturally. Others train themselves through techniques like reality checks and dream journals. Research even shows that skills practiced in lucid dreams can improve performance in waking life. But beyond any practical benefit, lucid dreaming offers something more profound. A reminder that our minds can create whole worlds, rich with detail and emotion, that we can walk through as if they were real. And in those worlds, we are both the traveler and the architect. Unfinished tasks linger in memory longer than completed ones. Imagine working on a project, stepping away before it is complete, and finding the task lingering in your mind. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains hold on to incomplete tasks more vividly than completed ones. This mental open loop evolved to help us remember what still needs doing. But it can also keep us awake at night, replaying conversations, or reminding us of work left undone. Studies suggest the effect occurs because unresolved activities create a kind of mild tension in the mind. Finishing the task releases it. That is why making a to-do list can feel oddly calming. It signals to the brain that the task is accounted for, even if it is not yet done. In daily life, this effect can be both a motivator and a source of stress, depending on how we use it. Either way, it is a powerful example of the mind's unfinished business. Gratitude can lower stress hormones in your body. The act of feeling and expressing gratitude is more than just polite habit. It can shift the body's chemistry. Studies have found that people who regularly focus on what they are thankful for show lower levels of cortisol, the hormone released during stress. Gratitude practices such as keeping a daily journal or reflecting on positive moments before sleep can also increase activity in brain regions linked to empathy and joy. This is not just a pleasant mood change. It is a physiological response that can strengthen the immune system, improve sleep quality, and even support heart health. Psychologists suggest that gratitude shifts attention away from what is lacking and toward what is abundant, creating a sense of safety and connection. In this way, it helps the mind relax, allowing the body to follow. A grateful thought held quietly for a moment can ripple through the nervous system like a calming tide. Words you barely perceive can still influence your behavior. Sometimes the mind reacts to messages it does not consciously notice. In psychology, this is called subliminal priming. The presentation of stimuli so brief or subtle that it falls below conscious awareness, yet still influences thoughts or behavior. In one study, flashing positive or negative words for just milliseconds before showing a neutral image changed how participants rated that image's emotional tone. Advertisers and artists have long been fascinated by this effect, though its influence in real life is more subtle than the myths suggest. Still, it reveals an important truth. Our conscious minds are not the sole gatekeepers of perception. Beneath awareness, the brain is constantly scanning, filtering, and interpreting signals. Most of these impressions never surface into words, but they can tilt our decisions, shape our impressions, and leave us with feelings we cannot quite explain. Whispers from the edge of perception. Music can trigger memories hidden for years. A song from your teenage years can pull you instantly back to a school hallway, a summer afternoon, or a person you have not spoken to in years. Music has a unique relationship with memory because it engages multiple parts of the brain at once. Auditory regions, motor areas, and crucially the limbic system. The rhythm, melody, and lyrics weave together to form a rich context. And when that song plays again, the original emotions return with it. For people with Alzheimer's disease, familiar music can sometimes awaken moments of clarity, allowing them to sing along to lyrics they otherwise could not recall. Psychologists believe music works as a powerful retrieval cue, one that bypasses some of the barriers that time and memory loss create. It is a reminder that even when memories feel lost, they can still be carried within us, waiting for the right note to set them free. Optimism can speed recovery from illness. Hope and positive expectation are not just comforting. They can be biologically protective. Studies have shown that optimistic people often recover faster from surgery, respond better to certain treatments, and have lower rates of some chronic illnesses. Optimism appears to reduce harmful stress responses, encourage healthier behaviors, and even strengthen the immune system. This does not mean ignoring reality or forcing a smile through hardship. Rather, it is about expecting that difficulties can be overcome and that the future holds possibility. Psychologists suggest that optimism can help people persist with rehabilitation, follow medical advice more consistently, and maintain the mental resilience needed for healing. While the body does its quiet work of repair, the mind's outlook can tilt the odds in our favor, turning hope into a kind of invisible medicine that moves through every heartbeat and breath. People remember gossip more readily than neutral facts. Human beings evolved in small social groups, where knowing who could be trusted could mean the difference between safety and danger. This may explain why our brains are tuned to remember gossip, stories about the behavior of others, more readily than neutral facts. In experiments, participants were more likely to recall details about untrustworthy actions than about physical descriptions or unrelated events. Gossip activates social reasoning networks in the brain, drawing attention and helping store information for future use. While gossip can be harmful, it can also serve a protective function, helping groups maintain norms and avoid risk. In a modern context, this tendency shows up in how rumors spread more quickly than ordinary news. Whether whispered around a fire thousands of years ago or passed along online today, gossip's staying power lies in the brain's deep interest in the behavior of others. Déjà vu may arise from the brain misfiring recognition signals. That eerie feeling that you have lived a moment before. Déjà vu is still not fully understood. One leading theory is that it occurs when the brain's recognition system briefly misfires, creating a false sense of familiarity. This may happen when a new experience closely matches patterns from past memories, even if you cannot recall the original moment. Neuroimaging studies suggest that the temporal lobe, especially areas involved in memory, plays a role. For most people, déjà vu is fleeting and harmless. But it offers a glimpse into how the brain stitches together present and past. In that brief flicker, reality feels doubled. The now overlaid with the ghost of a past that may never have been. It is a reminder that perception is not a perfect record, but an interpretation. And sometimes the mind's storyteller gets ahead of itself. People tend to speak faster when they are nervous. When anxiety rises, so can the speed of our speech. This is partly driven by the body's fight-or-flight response, which increases heart rate and breathing. The brain, primed for rapid action, pushes thoughts forward more quickly, and the mouth struggles to keep pace. Nervous speakers may also skip pauses, rush through sentences, or stumble over words, as adrenaline sharpens their urgency to be understood. This effect can be subtle, a slight quickening of cadence, or so pronounced that the words blur together. In social situations, this fast talking can sometimes make others anxious too, as emotional states ripple through groups. Knowing this pattern can be helpful. Slowing speech deliberately can calm the body, and a calm body in turn can steady the mind. In this way, speech becomes not just a reflection of mood, but a tool for guiding it. Most of the human brain remains a mystery. For all our advances in neuroscience, vast regions of the brain remain only partly understood. We can map structures, trace electrical signals, and watch patterns of activity. Yet the deeper mystery of how consciousness arises, or why memories feel vivid, still escapes us. Some brain regions have no fully defined function, and the intricate networks linking them are more complex than any computer humans have built. Every new study reveals not only answers, but new questions, reminding us that we have explored a mere fraction of this living universe within our skulls. Like an ocean whose surface we have skimmed, but whose depths remain dark, the brain holds entire continents of understanding still to be found. And in the quiet moments between thoughts, we are reminded that the mind is not just a biological machine, but a mystery we inhabit every waking moment. Most of your daily thoughts are repeats from the day before. Research suggests that the majority of our daily thoughts are recycled from previous days. Familiar concerns, routines, and reflections replaying in slightly different forms. This mental repetition helps maintain a sense of stability, but it can also limit creativity and keep us stuck in old patterns. The brain favors efficiency, and reusing existing neural pathways is less demanding than forging new ones. However, when we intentionally seek out novel experiences, challenge assumptions, or change our surroundings, we can spark fresh patterns of thought. This is why travel, learning new skills, or even taking a different route to work can feel invigorating. It jolts the mind out of autopilot and into awareness. Most of the time, our thoughts flow along well-worn trails. But every so often, we can step off the path and discover an entirely new landscape within ourselves. Yawning can be contagious across species. A single yawn can ripple through a room, passing from person to person with no words exchanged. This contagious effect is not limited to humans. Chimpanzees, dogs, and even some birds have been observed catching yawns from others. Psychologists believe the phenomenon is linked to empathy and social bonding. We unconsciously mirror the behavior of those around us, reinforcing connection. In humans, the likelihood of catching a yawn increases with closeness. You are more likely to yawn after a friend than a stranger. The act itself remains partly mysterious. While yawning helps regulate brain temperature and promote alertness, its social spread seems to serve a different purpose, silently syncing the rhythms of a group. In a way, a shared yawn is a quiet reminder of our biological link to one another. A small unspoken gesture that says we are in this moment together. Hypnosis can change how the brain perceives pain. Under hypnosis, a person can sometimes feel less pain, or even none at all, during experiences that would normally cause discomfort. Brain scans show that hypnosis can alter activity in areas that interpret pain signals, changing not the sensation itself, but the way the brain perceives it. This has been used in medical settings for pain management, dental work, and even surgery, though it does not work equally for everyone. Psychologists describe hypnosis as a focused, highly suggestible state in which the mind can shift its responses. The effect is not magic. It is the brain's own flexibility at work. By adjusting perception, the mind can rewrite the body's experience. This connection between attention and sensation hints at a profound truth. Pain is not just a physical event, but a complex dialogue between nerves, brain, and awareness. And sometimes awareness can change the conversation. Writing about your feelings can improve your health. Putting emotions into words, whether in a journal or a private note, can have measurable effects on well-being. Studies have shown that expressive writing can lower blood pressure, strengthen immune function, and improve mood. Psychologists believe the process helps organize emotional experiences, turning vague feelings into structured thoughts the brain can work through. This reduces mental strain and frees up cognitive resources for other tasks. Writing does not require perfect grammar or style. Its power lies in honesty. By translating inner experiences into language, we give form to what was formless, and in doing so, reduce its hold over us. The page becomes a safe container for what might feel overwhelming in the mind. Over time, this practice can help untangle complex emotions, making them easier to understand and easier to carry. We recall emotions more easily than facts. The human mind is deeply emotional, and this shapes how we remember. Events tied to strong emotions, whether joy, fear, grief, or excitement, tend to linger in memory longer than neutral details. This emotional tagging helps the brain prioritize important experiences. But it also means we often remember how we felt more clearly than what actually happened. In eyewitness testimony, for example, the emotional charge of an event can influence recollections, sometimes distorting factual accuracy. On the positive side, remembering the emotions of meaningful moments can help reinforce values, relationships, and life lessons. Our memories are not perfect records. They are more like stories told from the heart's perspective. When we think back on the past, we often walk through a landscape of feelings, with facts scattered like stones along the path. Chewing gum can improve concentration. It might seem like a small, even mindless habit, but chewing gum has been linked to improvements in focus and alertness. The rhythmic motion appears to increase blood flow to the brain, while the act of chewing may also stimulate areas involved in attention and memory. Some studies show modest boosts in performance on tasks requiring sustained concentration when participants chew gum, especially peppermint-flavored varieties. The effect is not dramatic, but it can provide a subtle lift in mental energy. Perhaps this is why students, drivers, and even soldiers have used it during long, demanding periods. Psychologists also suggest that gum chewing can reduce stress by lowering cortisol levels, making it a double benefit for concentration. In the quiet moments when focus begins to drift, This simple action can act as a small anchor, bringing the mind gently back to the task at hand. The first and last things you learn stick strongest. Our memories are influenced by what psychologists call the primacy and recency effects. The tendency to recall the first and last items in a sequence better than those in the middle. The first items benefit from more rehearsal and attention, while the last items remain fresh in short-term memory. This pattern appears in daily life. We often remember the opening and closing moments of a conversation, a lecture, or even a holiday more vividly than the middle portions. Understanding this can help in learning. Placing key information at the beginning or end of a study session increases the chance of it sticking. In a way, the mind frames experiences like stories, with the opening and ending scenes shining the brightest. The middle still matters, but it is the first impression and the final moment that often linger longest in the mind's quiet archives. Your brain can miss changes happening right in front of you. Change blindness is a striking quirk of perception. The brain can fail to notice even large alterations in a scene if they occur during a brief distraction or visual interruption. In experiments, people can look directly at an object, glance away for a moment, and miss that it has changed entirely when they look back. This happens because attention is selective. We cannot process every detail, so the brain fills in gaps with assumptions based on prior knowledge. In daily life, change blindness can explain why we miss small rearrangements in a room, or fail to notice a friend's new haircut. It is a reminder that perception is not a perfect camera. Instead, it is a patchwork of focused details and inferred continuity, stitched together so smoothly we rarely notice the missing pieces unless someone points them out. Smiling can trick your brain into feeling happier. Even if you are not feeling joyful, the simple act of smiling can subtly shift your mood. Psychologists call this the facial feedback hypothesis. The idea that facial expressions can influence emotional states. When you smile, the muscles in your face send signals to your brain, triggering the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. This can create a small lift in mood, even if nothing else changes. The effect works in reverse too. Frowning or scowling can reinforce feelings of tension or frustration. It is not a cure, but in moments of stress, a conscious smile can be a gentle nudge toward a calmer state. This is why some people practice soft smiling during meditation, a relaxed, almost imperceptible upturn of the lips. It is a reminder that the mind and body are deeply intertwined. And sometimes happiness can begin with a simple, deliberate expression. Your subconscious influences who you find attractive. Attraction feels like a conscious choice, but many of its foundations are laid beneath awareness. Subtle cues, the symmetry of a face, the tone of a voice, even a person's scent, can trigger responses rooted in biology and experience. Evolutionary psychologists suggest that some preferences may be linked to health indicators, while others are shaped by cultural norms and personal history. The subconscious also weaves in associations. A certain laugh may remind you of someone kind. A hairstyle may echo a beloved figure from your past. These impressions often form before the conscious mind begins its analysis, creating a feeling of instant chemistry. It is a reminder that attraction is both ancient and personal, a dance between instincts honed over millennia and the unique pathways carved by our own lives, quietly guiding our eyes and hearts before we even realize they have chosen a direction. Flow states can make hours feel like minutes. A flow state is a mental space where focus is effortless, time feels elastic, and the outside world fades away. Artists, athletes, and scientists often describe losing themselves in their work, emerging hours later feeling energized rather than drained. Psychologists say flow occurs when the challenge of a task matches your skill level. Enough difficulty to engage fully, but not so much as to overwhelm. In this state, the brain reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region tied to self-consciousness, freeing attention to merge with the task. Flow is not just productivity at its peak. It is a deeply satisfying immersion where action and awareness become one. Many people find it during hobbies, creative projects, or even problem solving at work. In the quiet trance of flow, minutes dissolve into moments, and the mind moves as smoothly as a river, finding its way to the sea. Technology can give humans new senses. Technology can extend human perception beyond its natural limits, effectively giving us new senses. Some researchers have created devices that translate non-visual data, like magnetic fields or ultrasonic distances, into tactile signals the brain can learn to interpret. Over time, users begin to sense these signals as naturally as sight or touch, integrating them into daily awareness. For example, a belt that vibrates when facing north can eventually give a person an intuitive sense of direction, much like migratory animals. These enhancements demonstrate the brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to adapt to new streams of information and weave them into perception. While these tools are still experimental, they point toward a future where human senses could expand to detect ultraviolet light, infrared heat, or even the chemical composition of the air, opening entire dimensions of experience we can only imagine now. Learning something new physically reshapes your brain. Each time you learn a new skill or concept, your brain's neural networks change. This process, called synaptic plasticity, strengthens existing connections and forms new ones, allowing information to be stored and retrieved more efficiently. In practical terms, this means that your brain is not static. It is an ever-changing structure shaped by your experiences. MRI studies show that learning activities, from playing an instrument to practicing a language, can even increase the size of certain brain regions over time. These physical changes are most rapid in childhood, but they continue throughout life, proving that it is never too late to learn. The act of learning is like walking through a field until a faint trail becomes a well-worn path. Every time you return, the path grows clearer, and the landscape of your mind expands, one connection at a time. Your mood can literally change what you see. Emotions do not just color our thoughts. They can alter our visual perception. Studies have shown that people in a positive mood are more likely to notice subtle details and see a wider range of colors, while those feeling anxious may narrow their focus, scanning for threats and missing neutral or positive cues. This happens because mood influences the brain's attention systems, adjusting the way sensory information is filtered and interpreted. A joyful state can make a sunset seem more vivid, while fear can make a dimly lit street feel darker than it is. In this way, perception is not a purely objective process. It is shaped by the lens of the mind in each moment. Changing your mood can quite literally change your world, revealing that the line between the mind's inner state and the outer environment is far less fixed than we imagine. People are more likely to help when they are the only witness. In emergencies, the presence of other people can sometimes reduce the likelihood that anyone will step in. A phenomenon known as the bystander effect. When alone, individuals feel a greater personal responsibility to act. When in a crowd, responsibility is diffused, and each person assumes someone else will help. This effect has been observed in countless experiments, from staged accidents to dropped objects on the street. The more people present, the lower the chance that any one person will intervene. However, awareness of the bystander effect can counteract it. Those who understand it are more likely to take action regardless of the crowd. It is a reminder that in moments where help is needed, looking to others can be a trap. Sometimes the person to act must simply be you, even if you are the only one to notice the need. The scent of stress can affect others around you. When a person is stressed, their body can release chemical compounds through sweat that carry subtle signals to those nearby. Research has found that smelling these stress odors, even without conscious awareness, can activate areas of the brain linked to empathy and fear, causing others to become more alert or anxious themselves. This suggests that stress can spread socially, not just through tone of voice or facial expression, but through scent. While this effect likely evolved to help groups detect and respond to danger, in modern life it means that tension in a room can quietly ripple from one person to the next. Understanding this can be empowering. Just as stress can be contagious, so can calm. By managing our own state, we may influence the emotional climate around us in ways no one can quite explain, but everyone can feel. Nostalgia can make you feel physically warmer. Nostalgia is not only a warm feeling in the heart. It can literally make you feel warmer in your body. Experiments have shown that recalling cherished memories can increase perceived temperature and even reduce the sensation of physical cold. Psychologists believe this link may be rooted in evolutionary needs. Social warmth and physical warmth are intertwined in the brain, both tied to feelings of safety and belonging. When we revisit happy moments from the past, our bodies respond as if we have stepped into a more comfortable environment. In winter months, people often experience more nostalgic thoughts, perhaps as a way of counteracting the chill. Whether triggered by a familiar song, a photograph, or the smell of a favorite meal, nostalgia can wrap the mind and body in a gentle blanket of remembered comfort. Fear can be transmitted through observation alone. You do not have to experience a threat firsthand to feel fear. Simply watching someone else react with fear can trigger your own. This is because the brain contains mirror systems that simulate the emotions of others, allowing us to learn about dangers indirectly. In studies, people who observed someone else showing signs of fear toward a specific object later showed similar fear responses themselves, even without direct exposure. This mechanism likely evolved to help us avoid harm by learning from the experiences of others. In daily life, it means that fear can ripple through groups in seconds, influencing behavior before words are spoken. Just as calm can be contagious, so too can alarm, making emotional awareness a powerful tool in shaping the collective mood of those around us. Authority figures can make ordinary people obey extreme orders. In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted experiments showing that ordinary people, under the direction of an authority figure, would deliver what they believed were painful electric shocks to others. The study revealed how social pressure and the presence of authority can override personal morals, leading people to act in ways they might never choose on their own. While controversial, the findings have been echoed in other contexts, from military settings to workplace hierarchies. The effect is rooted in our tendency to trust perceived experts and defer responsibility when following orders. This does not mean people are powerless. Awareness of the influence can strengthen resistance. It is a reminder that moral courage sometimes means stepping out of the shadow of authority, reclaiming personal choice even when every voice around you says just do as you are told. Peripheral vision detects motion faster than central vision. Your eyes are most detailed in the center, but they are fastest at detecting motion at the edges. Peripheral vision is attuned to movement, a survival trait from when noticing a sudden rustle could mean spotting a predator or prey. This sensitivity is tied to the rod cells in the outer retina, which are better at picking up light and motion in low-contrast conditions. In modern life, this means you might notice something moving in the corner of your eye before you consciously look at it. It is part of the brain's early warning system, scanning constantly for change, ready to draw your focus where it is needed most. In the quiet margins of your sight, the past lingers. An ancient watchtower still keeping guard. Writing by hand improves memory more than typing. Handwriting engages the brain differently from typing, involving fine motor skills, visual processing, and spatial awareness all at once. This richer sensory experience helps encode information more deeply, making it easier to recall later. Students who take handwritten notes often remember concepts better, even if they write less overall, because summarizing in real time requires active engagement with the material. Writing by hand also slows the pace, giving the mind more time to process ideas. While typing is fast and efficient, handwriting can act like a form of mindful learning. Each stroke a physical imprint of thought, etched not just on paper, but into the neural patterns of memory. We judge faces in less than 1/10 of a second. The human brain forms impressions of faces almost instantly, in less than 1/10 of a second. Research shows that even such brief exposure is enough for people to decide whether someone appears trustworthy, competent, or likable. These snap judgments come from ancient survival mechanisms, where quickly assessing friend or foe could mean life or death. The amygdala and other brain regions process facial cues at remarkable speed, well before conscious thought has time to intervene. While first impressions can be surprisingly consistent across observers, they are not always accurate. Our minds often lean on learned stereotypes and personal experiences to fill in the gaps. This lightning-fast assessment is a reminder that part of us still operates on instincts formed long before cities, screens, and introductions, when a single glance could shape the course of survival. Seeing images of eyes can make people more honest. Simply placing an image of eyes in a space, above a donation box for example, can make people behave more generously and honestly. Psychologists believe this happens because the sensation of being watched triggers social accountability, even when the eyes are only printed on paper. This effect is linked to our evolutionary past, when reputation and group belonging were essential for survival. Being seen meant your actions mattered, and the brain still responds to these subtle cues today. Interestingly, the eyes do not need to be realistic. Even stylized designs can create the effect. It is a quiet example of how deep-seated social instincts continue to shape behavior in ways we rarely notice, turning a simple image into an invisible reminder that someone might be watching. People overestimate how much others notice them. The spotlight effect describes our tendency to believe others are paying more attention to us than they actually are. This can make small mistakes, tripping on a sidewalk, mispronouncing a word, feel far more noticeable than they are in reality. In truth, most people are too focused on their own thoughts to observe us closely. This bias stems from the way we experience life. We are the central figure in our own story, so we assume the same focus from others. Understanding the spotlight effect can be freeing, reducing social anxiety and self-consciousness. When we realize that most eyes are turned inward, our own small stumbles lose their weight, and we can move through the world with a lighter step, no longer imagining an audience where none exists. The placebo effect works even when you know it is a placebo. It sounds impossible, but studies show that a placebo, an inactive treatment, can still have real effects, even when the recipient knows it is not real medicine. In these cases, the explanation that the placebo might trigger the body's own healing mechanisms is often enough to create measurable changes, such as reduced pain or improved mood. Psychologists suggest that this works through expectation and conditioning. The ritual of treatment, combined with belief in the body's capacity to heal, activates pathways in the brain that influence physical states. This open-label placebo effect reveals just how intertwined mind and body are, and how belief can shape biology even in the absence of deception. It is a reminder that sometimes awareness itself can be a form of medicine. We remember how we felt more clearly than what happened. Think back to a significant moment. You might remember the rush of joy, the weight of grief, or the sting of embarrassment, but not the exact sequence of events. This is because emotions are processed and stored in brain areas closely linked to memory, such as the amygdala, making them easier to retrieve than factual details. While this emotional focus can help guide future decisions, it can also blur the accuracy of our recollections. We may recall the feel of a day, but lose track of the specifics. This is why two people can share an experience, yet remember it differently. In the story of our lives, emotion is often the ink, and the details are the paper. Without the feeling, the memory fades. But with it, even vague outlines can remain vivid for years. Forgetting is just as important as remembering. Forgetting may feel like a flaw, but it is an essential part of how memory works. The brain is constantly taking in vast amounts of information, and letting go of less useful details helps make room for what matters most. Psychologists believe that forgetting allows us to generalize from past experiences, rather than getting lost in specifics. It also prevents outdated information from interfering with new learning. This adaptive forgetting can be thought of as pruning a tree, removing old branches so the healthy ones can grow. Far from being a sign of weakness, the ability to forget is one of the mind's ways of staying efficient and focused, ensuring that the memories we carry are the ones most relevant to our present and future. Your brain can adapt to seeing the world upside down. In classic experiments, people wore special glasses that inverted their vision, turning the world upside down. At first, the experience was disorienting. But within days, the brain adjusted. Objects felt right side up again, even though the image entering the eyes was reversed. This remarkable flexibility is an example of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself in response to new input. When the glasses were removed, vision felt flipped again, until the brain readjusted. The finding shows that perception is not a fixed recording, but an active construction, constantly shaped by the brain's interpretation of sensory data. Even something as fundamental as up and down is, in part, a matter of adaptation. Groups often make riskier decisions than individuals. In certain situations, groups tend to make bolder, riskier choices than individuals would alone. A phenomenon called group polarization. This can happen because discussion often amplifies dominant opinions, and shared enthusiasm can downplay potential dangers. The effect is visible in settings from business meetings to political rallies. While collective decision-making can draw on diverse perspectives, it can also lead to risky shift, where the desire for unity and momentum outweighs caution. Being aware of this tendency allows groups to counterbalance it by encouraging dissenting voices and deliberate pauses. In the end, the group mind can be a powerful tool, but like any tool, it must be used with care. Optical illusions reveal how reality is rebuilt inside your mind. Optical illusions work because the brain does not just receive sensory input. It interprets it, filling in gaps and making predictions. When these predictions clash with the raw data, the result can be an image that appears to shift, move, or hide details that are in plain sight. Illusions reveal the shortcuts the brain uses to make sense of the world quickly. These mental shortcuts usually serve us well, but they remind us that what we see is a version of reality reconstructed inside our heads, not reality itself. Every perception is, in a sense, a personalized rendering, influenced by past experiences, expectations, and context. Laughter can rewire your brain for resilience. Laughter is not just a reaction. It is a kind of mental exercise that can build resilience. When we laugh, the brain releases endorphins and reduces levels of stress hormones, creating a physiological state that makes it easier to cope with challenges. Shared laughter strengthens social bonds, providing a network of support that is crucial in difficult times. Over time, these moments of joy can act like repeated training sessions for the nervous system, teaching it to recover more quickly from stress. In this way, laughter becomes more than a fleeting pleasure. It is a resource stored within the body and mind, ready to be called upon when life demands courage. A sense of purpose can extend your lifespan. Research shows that people who feel a strong sense of purpose, a clear reason to get up each morning, often live longer, healthier lives. Purpose provides motivation, which can encourage healthier habits, reduce stress, and strengthen social connections. It also seems to benefit the body directly, with studies linking purpose to lower levels of inflammatory markers and better cardiovascular health. This does not mean purpose has to be grand or world-changing. It can be as personal as caring for loved ones, pursuing a creative passion, or contributing to a community. Having something meaningful to work toward acts like a compass for the mind, guiding choices and sustaining resilience. In times of hardship, purpose can serve as a steady light on the horizon. A reason to keep moving forward, one step at a time, through the unfolding days. Your brain has a dedicated network for recognizing faces. Deep within the temporal lobe lies the fusiform face area, a specialized region devoted to recognizing faces. This network is so finely tuned that it can identify familiar faces in less than a second, even in a crowd. Damage to this area can result in prosopagnosia, or face blindness, a condition where individuals can see facial features but struggle to recognize even close friends or family. The importance of this system is rooted in our evolutionary history. Reading faces has been vital for detecting emotions, recognizing allies, and building social bonds. Remarkably, this network does not just process human faces. It can adapt to recognize other familiar patterns, like the markings of pets or the shape of a well-loved object. It is a testament to the brain's deep investment in connection, shaping our ability to recognize the people who matter most to us. Meditation can physically alter brain structures. Meditation is more than a mental exercise. Long-term practice can physically change the brain. MRI studies have found increased thickness in the prefrontal cortex, an area linked to decision-making and self-control, as well as changes in the hippocampus, which plays a role in memory and learning. Regular meditation can also reduce the size of the amygdala, the brain's center for fear and stress responses, suggesting a heightened capacity for calm. These structural changes reflect neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself in response to experience. Even short daily sessions can begin to alter neural patterns, enhancing attention, emotional regulation, and overall well-being. In a world that often feels rushed and noisy, meditation offers a way to reshape the mind from the inside out, building inner stillness into the very fabric of the brain. People can experience out-of-body perspectives in certain conditions. During near-death experiences, deep meditation, or even through targeted brain stimulation, people report feeling as if they have left their bodies, observing themselves from above or at a distance. Neuroscientists have linked these experiences to disruptions in the brain's integration of sensory information, particularly in the temporoparietal junction. While often fleeting, these moments can feel vivid and profoundly real, leaving lasting impressions on those who experience them. Out-of-body perceptions can shift a person's sense of identity and deepen existential curiosity. Whether interpreted as spiritual events or neurological phenomena, they highlight the brain's remarkable role in creating the sense of self. A sense that can, under the right conditions, untether and drift beyond the boundaries of the physical form. Priming can change your behavior without you noticing. Priming occurs when exposure to certain words, images, or ideas subtly influences later behavior. For example, reading words related to politeness can make people interrupt less often in a conversation, while seeing references to aging might slow their walking speed. All without conscious awareness. This happens because the brain uses recently activated concepts as shortcuts, shaping perception and response. While the effects of priming are often short-lived, they reveal how sensitive we are to environmental cues. In everyday life, priming can be positive, inspiring productivity, kindness, or creativity. But it also shows how easily our minds can be nudged without our realizing it. Every setting we enter quietly sets the stage for how we think and act. Kindness can boost your immune system. Acts of kindness do not just make others feel good. They can benefit your health as well. Helping others has been linked to lower blood pressure, reduced stress hormones, and improved immune function. Psychologists suggest this may be due to the release of oxytocin, which promotes feelings of warmth and trust, while also supporting cardiovascular health. Even small gestures, like holding a door or offering a smile, can create these effects. Over time, kindness can become a reinforcing cycle. Doing good increases well-being, which in turn makes people more likely to continue helping. In this way, kindness is not just a social glue. It is also a quiet form of self-care, woven into the exchanges that connect us to one another. Your posture influences your mood. The way you hold your body can shape the way you feel. Standing or sitting upright can increase feelings of confidence and alertness, while slouching may reinforce fatigue or low mood. This link works through feedback loops between body and brain. Posture influences hormone levels, breathing patterns, and neural activity. In one study, participants who adopted power poses reported greater feelings of control, though the exact effects remain debated. Beyond confidence, posture can also affect energy levels by opening or restricting the chest and diaphragm. Small adjustments, sitting tall, relaxing the shoulders, lifting the head, can subtly shift the mind toward greater clarity and presence. The body, in many ways, sets the stage for the story the mind tells itself. Trauma can sometimes lead to personal growth. While trauma can cause deep pain, some people emerge from it with greater resilience, empathy, or a renewed sense of purpose. A phenomenon known as post-traumatic growth. This does not mean that trauma was beneficial, but rather that recovery can sometimes foster strengths that might not have developed otherwise. Psychologists have identified areas of growth such as stronger relationships, increased appreciation for life, and a deeper connection to personal values. The process often involves meaning-making, finding ways to integrate the experience into a larger narrative of life. While not everyone experiences post-traumatic growth, those who do often describe it as a transformation forged in difficulty. Like a tree growing stronger after surviving a storm. Stress can spread between people without words. Stress can be contagious, passing silently from one person to another. Simply observing someone's tense body language, facial expressions, or hearing changes in their voice can trigger a mirrored stress response in the observer's brain. This social transmission of stress is thought to be rooted in empathy, our nervous systems attuning to the states of those around us. While this can help groups respond to threats collectively, it also means that one person's anxiety can ripple outward, affecting the mood of a room. The reverse is also true. Calmness can spread in much the same way, softening tension and encouraging steadiness. In this sense, managing our own stress is not only self-care, it is a quiet gift to those around us. Mirroring someone's movements builds instant rapport. Subtly matching another person's gestures, posture, or speech patterns can create a sense of connection and trust. This unconscious tendency, known as the chameleon effect, is part of our social wiring. When done naturally, mirroring signals empathy and attentiveness, making the other person feel understood. It is why conversations often sync in rhythm, or why friends may find themselves laughing or leaning in at the same time. In professional settings, skilled negotiators sometimes use mirroring to foster cooperation, while therapists use it to strengthen rapport. However, when forced or exaggerated, it can feel insincere. In its truest form, mirroring is simply the body's way of saying, "I am with you." Without words, a quiet alignment of two nervous systems moving in time with each other, like dancers following the same music. Changing your study location can boost retention. Studying in different environments can help information stick more firmly in memory. This effect occurs because each location provides unique cues that the brain unconsciously associates with the material being learned. When you recall the information later, you have a richer web of associations to draw from. For example, alternating between a quiet room, a park bench, and a library can create subtle variations in lighting, background noise, and scent, all of which become retrieval cues. Psychologists suggest this technique can be particularly useful for preparing for exams or presentations. The same principle applies beyond studying. Practicing a skill in varied contexts can improve adaptability and performance. By gently shaking up routine, you give your brain more threads to weave into memory, creating a tapestry that is harder to unravel. Teaching others strengthens your own memory. Explaining a concept to someone else requires organizing your thoughts, finding clear language, and anticipating questions, all of which deepen your grasp of the material. This is sometimes called the protégé effect, and it is why teachers often say they learn as much as they teach. When you teach, you actively retrieve and reconstruct knowledge, strengthening the neural pathways that store it. Even the process of preparing to teach can improve retention, as your brain engages with the information in a more structured, purposeful way. This approach works for skills as well as facts. Showing a friend how to cook a dish, for example, reinforces your own muscle memory. In a way, teaching transforms knowledge from something you hold to something you live, making it a more permanent part of your mind's library. Some fears are inherited through evolution. Certain fears, such as the fear of snakes, spiders, or heights appear more readily in humans and other primates, even without direct negative experiences. Psychologists and evolutionary biologists believe these fears are prepared through evolution, giving our ancestors an advantage in avoiding danger. Studies have shown that people can develop fear responses to these stimuli more quickly than to neutral objects like flowers or houses. While modern life has made many of these dangers less relevant, the underlying predisposition remains. This evolutionary inheritance means our emotional responses are not shaped only by personal experience, but also by the long history of survival encoded in our nervous systems. In some cases, our instincts are whispers from a past where a single moment's caution could mean the difference between life and death. Your sense of time can stretch or collapse in different situations. Time perception is fluid, shaped by attention, emotion, and novelty. Moments of danger or intense focus can feel longer, as the brain records more sensory details per second. Conversely, familiar routines can seem to vanish quickly, with hours passing in what feels like minutes. This effect explains why childhood often seems to stretch endlessly. Every experience is new, while adulthood can feel faster as novelty decreases. Psychologists suggest that deliberately seeking out new activities can slow the perceived passage of time, adding richness to each day. In this way, our sense of time is less like a clock and more like an accordion, expanding and contracting with the music of our experiences. Some memories can be erased with targeted disruption. Researchers have found ways to weaken or even erase specific memories in animals by disrupting the reconsolidation process, the period when a memory is recalled and then stored again. While still largely experimental in humans, this approach has been explored as a potential treatment for traumatic memories. By interfering with the brain's chemical pathways during reconsolidation, scientists can make certain memories less vivid or emotionally charged. The possibility raises both hope and ethical questions. Could erasing pain also erase important parts of identity? For now, the research reminds us that memory is not a fixed recording, but a living, changing construct. One that can, in certain circumstances, be rewritten. Your brain can generate false memories that feel completely real. False memories are not just fuzzy recollections. They can feel as vivid and detailed as genuine ones. Experiments have shown that suggestion, imagination, and even photographs can lead people to remember events that never occurred. The brain builds memories by reconstructing details each time they are recalled, which means they can shift subtly over time. This flexibility is normally useful, allowing memories to adapt. But it also leaves them open to distortion. In some cases, people may confidently recall entire scenarios that are entirely fabricated, complete with emotions and sensory impressions. It is a reminder that memory is not a perfect archive. It is a story our mind tells. And like any story, it can change in the telling. Your brain fills in gaps in your vision without you knowing. Everyone has a blind spot where the optic nerve meets the retina, yet we rarely notice it. This is because the brain automatically fills in the missing information using surrounding details and patterns. This filling-in process happens constantly, not just at the blind spot, smoothing over small gaps in vision caused by blinking, shadows, or obstructions. Most of the time, the result is seamless. But it means that what we see is partly a construction, not a direct capture of reality. In this way, the brain acts like an editor, presenting a polished version of the world rather than the raw footage. We live in an image shaped as much by interpretation as by light. Hearing your own name activates a unique brain response. Your name is like a personal alarm bell for the brain. Even in a noisy room, hearing it can cut through the chatter and capture your attention instantly. This is known as the cocktail party effect. Brain scans show that hearing your own name triggers heightened activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, an area tied to self-awareness. The reaction is automatic and often emotional, as names are deeply tied to identity and social connection. This sensitivity likely evolved because recognizing when someone was addressing you could mean safety, opportunity, or vital information. Even when whispered from across a distance, your name has the power to pierce through distractions and pull you back into the present moment, like a small thread connecting you to the world around you. People can form biases without realizing it. Biases are not always deliberate or conscious. The brain's tendency to form quick impressions and categorize information can lead to implicit biases, automatic preferences, or associations that operate below awareness. These can influence decisions, perceptions, and interactions, even in people who value fairness and equality. Implicit bias tests reveal that such associations can be surprisingly resistant to change. But awareness is the first step in countering them. By slowing down decisions, seeking diverse perspectives, and questioning gut reactions, we can begin to challenge these hidden patterns. This process does not erase bias entirely, but it can weaken its influence, allowing our actions to better reflect our conscious values. In a way, it is like learning to spot a current beneath the surface. Once you know it is there, you can choose how to navigate it. Group pressure can shape opinions without evidence. Humans are deeply social, and our opinions can be swayed simply by the views of those around us. In classic experiments, participants were willing to give obviously wrong answers to simple questions, when everyone else in the group did the same. A phenomenon known as conformity. This pull toward agreement can be stronger when the group is unanimous, or when we feel uncertain. Conformity is not always negative. It can promote cooperation and shared norms. But it can also lead us to ignore our own judgment in favor of the crowd. The awareness of this tendency can help us pause, examine the evidence, and ask whether agreement is genuine or simply a desire to fit in. Sometimes the quietest act of independence is holding to the truth when every voice around you says otherwise. Sleep can spark insights you could not reach while awake. While the body rests, the brain continues working, reorganizing memories, making connections, even solving problems. This is why answers sometimes come in dreams, or why a solution feels clear in the morning after seeming impossible the night before. During certain stages of sleep, especially REM, the brain is freer to explore unusual associations, unbound by the constraints of waking logic. Artists, scientists, and inventors have all credited sleep with breakthroughs. This creative problem-solving happens because the sleeping brain blends information in novel ways, finding patterns that waking consciousness might overlook. It is a reminder that rest is not idleness. It is an active state where the mind works quietly behind the scenes, ready to surprise us with sudden clarity when the day begins. Doodling can help you stay focused. Far from being a sign of distraction, doodling can actually support concentration. In one study, participants who doodled while listening to a dull audio recording remembered more details than those who did not. The mild engagement of doodling may prevent the mind from fully wandering, keeping it anchored to the present task. This effect works because the brain has a limited capacity for attention. A small, repetitive activity can fill unused mental space without taking focus away from the main activity. For some people, doodling during lectures or meetings is like holding a gentle tether between their wandering thoughts and the information in front of them. In the quiet strokes of a pen, attention finds its rhythm. Taste is shaped more by smell than by your tongue. What we call taste is largely a blend of flavor and aroma. The tongue can detect only 5 basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. The thousands of subtle flavors we perceive come from the sense of smell. When you eat with a blocked nose, food often seems bland because those aromatic signals are missing. The brain fuses taste and smell into a single experience, processing them together in regions tied to memory and emotion. This is why certain flavors can instantly transport you back to a specific time or place. In every bite, the senses work together to create something richer than either could alone. Spacing out learning helps you remember longer. Instead of cramming all at once, spreading learning over multiple sessions, known as the spacing effect, leads to better long-term retention. This works because each review strengthens the memory, and the time between sessions allows for forgetting to occur just enough that retrieval requires effort. That effort is what reinforces the neural pathways, making the memory more durable. Whether studying a language, practicing music, or learning names, spacing practice sessions can make the knowledge stick for months or years rather than days. It is the difference between writing in wet sand and carving into stone. Your brain makes choices before you consciously decide. Experiments using brain imaging have found that neural activity can predict a decision seconds before a person becomes consciously aware of making it. This suggests that much of what we think of as choice begins in unconscious processes, with consciousness arriving later to take ownership. While this does not mean free will is an illusion, it does reveal that our awareness is only part of a larger decision-making system. The mind works like a deep ocean. Surface waves of conscious thought are shaped by unseen currents far below. Some people see colors when they hear sounds. For people with a form of synesthesia, certain sounds can trigger the perception of colors. A musical note might appear as a burst of blue, or a spoken word might carry a soft haze of green. These color associations are consistent for each person, and often appear early in life. Neuroscientists believe this blending of senses occurs because of increased connectivity between brain regions that usually process sound and vision separately. While synesthesia is uncommon, it offers a glimpse into the brain's remarkable flexibility and its ability to create rich, layered experiences from the world around us. For those who have it, music is not just heard, it is seen. Like watching a silent fireworks display with every chord and melody. Reframing a situation can reduce stress. Reframing a stressful situation, looking at it from a different angle, can lower its emotional weight. Psychologists call this cognitive reappraisal. It works by changing the meaning we assign to an event. For example, viewing a challenge as an opportunity to grow rather than a threat can reduce anxiety and improve problem solving. Brain scans show that reappraisal activates the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate the amygdala, the brain's fear center. This shift does not erase the difficulty, but it can create space between stimulus and reaction, allowing for a calmer, more deliberate response. Over time, the habit of reappraisal can make the mind more resilient, turning stress into a teacher rather than an enemy. People are more creative when slightly tired. It may seem counterintuitive, but a mildly tired brain can sometimes think more creatively than a fully alert one. When we are slightly fatigued, our mental filters loosen, allowing more unusual connections to surface. This can be especially useful for tasks that require divergent thinking, such as brainstorming, inventing, or problem-solving in unconventional ways. Psychologists suggest that the relaxed control of a tired mind can free it from rigid patterns, opening the door to novel ideas. Of course, exhaustion hinders most types of work. But in that sweet spot between wakefulness and fatigue, the mind can wander just far enough to stumble onto unexpected brilliance. It is one reason some people find their most original ideas late at night or early in the morning, when thoughts drift a little more freely. Group consensus can override personal judgment. Group consensus can be a powerful force, often nudging people to adopt positions they might not hold individually. This is a form of conformity, where the desire for social harmony overrides personal judgment. Classic studies have shown that people will agree with a group's incorrect answer to an obvious question, simply to avoid standing out. While conformity can promote cooperation and cohesion, it can also suppress creativity and dissent. Recognizing the pull of group opinion allows us to pause and consider whether agreement reflects our own beliefs or the group's influence. In a world full of collective voices, the quietest and often most important one to hear is our own. Compliments activate the same brain regions as rewards. Receiving a compliment can light up the brain's reward centers in much the same way as receiving money or winning a prize. Areas such as the striatum respond to social praise, releasing dopamine and fostering positive emotions. Compliments can also improve performance, as encouragement boosts motivation and confidence. This is why positive feedback is a powerful tool in teaching, teamwork, and relationships. The effect is not limited to elaborate praise. Even small, sincere acknowledgements can spark this response. At its core, a compliment is both recognition and connection. A way of telling someone they are seen and valued, in a moment that can resonate far beyond the words themselves. Your brain can imagine pain you have never felt. The mind's ability to simulate experience extends even to sensations we have never personally endured. Simply watching someone in pain or reading a vivid description can activate brain areas involved in our own pain processing. This capacity likely evolved to enhance empathy, helping us avoid danger and understand the suffering of others. While imagined pain is not as intense as the real thing, the overlap in brain activity can still be powerful enough to make us wince at another's injury. This simulation also means that fear and anxiety can arise from anticipated pain, influencing our choices even before any real harm occurs. Sleep deprivation blocks new memories from forming. A lack of sleep can severely impair the brain's ability to store new information. During deep and REM sleep, the hippocampus works to consolidate memories, transferring them into long-term storage. Without sufficient rest, this process is disrupted, leaving the mind unable to hold on to details from the day. Even a single night of poor sleep can weaken learning and recall. Over time, chronic sleep deprivation can lead to more lasting cognitive decline. This is why rest is essential not only for health, but also for growth. Without it, the stories of our days fade before they can be written into memory. People believe repeated information more easily. The illusory truth effect describes our tendency to accept statements as true if we hear them often enough, regardless of their accuracy. Repetition increases familiarity, and familiarity feels like truth to the brain. This mental shortcut evolved to help us learn from patterns. But in the modern world, it can be exploited by misinformation. Being aware of this bias allows us to slow down and fact-check before accepting repeated claims. In a noisy information landscape, the mind's comfort with the familiar can be both a strength and a vulnerability. Your brain processes faces in a special way. Faces are so important to human interaction that the brain devotes specialized regions to recognizing and interpreting them. The fusiform face area, located in the temporal lobe, allows us to quickly identify individuals, read emotions, and detect subtle changes in expression. This system is so efficient that we often recognize a face faster than we can recall a name. It is also why we sometimes see faces in clouds or patterns. The brain is primed to find them everywhere. The importance of this skill reflects our evolutionary history, where reading faces was central to communication and survival. Anticipation often feels better than the event itself. The joy of looking forward to something, a trip, a holiday, a long-awaited meeting, can sometimes outweigh the pleasure of the event itself. Psychologists call this the anticipation effect. It happens because imagining the future allows the mind to craft an ideal version, free from the unpredictability of reality. Anticipation can lift mood, increase motivation, and even reduce stress in the days leading up to an event. When the moment arrives, it may not match the vivid picture we have built, but that does not diminish the value of looking forward. In a way, anticipation is its own reward. A slow, sweet unfolding in the mind that stretches happiness across time, letting us enjoy not just what is, but what might be. Scent can influence your mood without you noticing. The link between scent and emotion is immediate and often unconscious. Odors travel directly to the limbic system, bypassing the brain's rational processing centers. This means that a faint floral fragrance, a hint of wood smoke, or the smell of fresh bread can alter mood before you are even aware of it. Calming scents like lavender may slow heart rate and promote relaxation, while sharper smells like citrus can increase alertness. These effects are subtle but powerful, shaping the emotional background of a moment. Whether in nature, at home, or in a busy street, the air carries invisible signals that the brain translates into feelings. A quiet influence on the mind's weather. Certain sounds can trigger physical reactions. A gentle melody might slow your breathing, while a sudden loud noise can spike your heart rate. Sound is processed not only by the auditory system but also by brain regions linked to emotion, memory, and movement. Certain frequencies can create tingling sensations, as in ASMR, while others may cause discomfort or tension. These physical reactions are part of an ancient survival system. Quick responses to auditory cues could mean the difference between safety and danger. In modern life, they remain a reminder of how deeply sound is tied to the body's rhythms. Music, voices, and even environmental noise can all leave subtle fingerprints on our physical state. Your mind works differently when solving problems alone. When working alone, people often engage in deeper, more reflective thought, free from the influence of others' opinions. This can lead to more original solutions, though it may lack the stimulation and feedback of group collaboration. Brain activity during solitary problem-solving often shows greater activation in areas linked to introspection and internal visualization. Working alone allows for unfiltered creativity, but it also requires self-discipline to stay on track. In contrast, group settings can boost energy and idea sharing, but risk conformity. Knowing when to seek solitude and when to collaborate can help harness the strengths of both approaches. Emotionally charged moments are remembered more vividly. Emotion acts like a spotlight on memory, sharpening details and strengthening recall. Whether the moment is joyful, frightening, or sorrowful, heightened arousal triggers the amygdala to signal the hippocampus, prioritizing the event for long-term storage. This is why we can recall where we were and how we felt during major life events, even decades later. While emotion improves memory for the central details, it can sometimes blur peripheral ones. The feeling remains clear, but the exact sequence of events may fade. These memories form part of the emotional fabric of our lives. Moments where the heart and mind worked in unison to ensure they would not be forgotten. Mirroring others makes you more persuasive. Subtle imitation of gestures, posture, and expressions can increase persuasiveness and rapport. This non-verbal mirroring signals attentiveness and alignment, often without conscious awareness from either person. In negotiations, sales, and even casual conversation, mirroring can make the listener feel more understood, which increases receptivity to ideas. The effect works best when natural and understated. Forced imitation can feel manipulative. At its most genuine, mirroring is simply a reflection of empathy. A silent conversation between bodies that reinforces the spoken one. Your brain can rewire itself throughout life. Neuroplasticity allows the brain to adapt and change its structure in response to learning, experience, and injury. New connections form between neurons, and existing pathways can strengthen or weaken depending on how often they are used. This adaptability is greatest in childhood, but continues into old age, enabling recovery after strokes, adaptation to new skills, and the ability to reshape habits. Every new experience, from meeting someone new to practicing a craft, subtly alters the brain's architecture. We are, in a very real sense, sculptors of our own minds. Extreme emotions can warp your sense of time. Moments of fear, excitement, or awe can warp time perception. Under stress, the brain processes more sensory information, making a moment feel longer in retrospect. In contrast, intense joy or focus can make hours seem to vanish in an instant. This elasticity in time perception reflects the brain's adaptive responses to important events, ensuring that crucial moments are noticed and remembered. It is why a few seconds in danger can feel like minutes, and why an evening of laughter can disappear in a heartbeat. Dreams may help process emotions. During REM sleep, the brain replays and processes emotional experiences from the day. Dreams may serve as a kind of overnight therapy, allowing the mind to work through feelings in a safe, symbolic space. Research suggests that dreaming helps regulate mood and reduce the emotional intensity of difficult memories. People who are deprived of REM sleep often show increased anxiety and emotional reactivity. While the exact function of dreams remains debated, their connection to emotional processing is clear. In the quiet theater of sleep, the mind rehearses, resolves, and sometimes heals. Your brain runs on about 20 watts of power. Despite being one of the most complex structures in the known universe, the brain operates on roughly 20 watts of power. about the same as a dim light bulb. This remarkable efficiency allows it to process billions of calculations per second, while consuming only a small fraction of the body's energy. The brain's low power consumption is made possible by its highly parallel architecture and the efficiency of biological neurons. No computer we have built comes close to matching this combination of power and energy efficiency. It is a quiet reminder that the most sophisticated technology in existence is quietly humming inside your head right now. You cannot tickle yourself. Try as you might, you cannot tickle yourself. The brain predicts the sensations caused by your own movements and cancels out the ticklish response. This prediction mechanism, centered in the cerebellum, helps distinguish between sensations we cause ourselves and those caused by others. When someone else tickles you, the unpredictability triggers the response. But when you try to do it yourself, the brain knows what is coming and dampens the sensation. This is why tickling works best when it is unexpected. It is a small example of how the brain constantly models the world and your place in it. The brain itself does not feel pain. The brain has no pain receptors. It cannot feel pain directly, even though it processes all the pain signals from the rest of the body. This is why brain surgery can sometimes be performed while the patient is awake, with only local anesthesia for the scalp and skull. The brain interprets pain from other regions, creating the experience of hurt. But the organ itself remains silent. It is a strange irony. The very structure that creates all sensation cannot sense itself. Daydreaming activates your default mode network. When your mind wanders, a network of brain regions known as the default mode network becomes active. This network is involved in self-reflection, imagining the future, and thinking about others. Daydreaming is not simply zoning out. It is an active process that allows the brain to consolidate memories, plan ahead, and make sense of social experiences. Research suggests that people who daydream often are better at creative problem-solving. The mind at rest is still at work, quietly tending to tasks that focused attention cannot reach. Your mind wanders nearly half of your waking hours. Studies suggest that people spend about 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are currently doing. This constant mental wandering is not a flaw. It is a feature of how the brain operates. Mind wandering allows for reflection, planning, and the integration of past experiences. However, it is also associated with lower mood when the wandering turns to rumination. The key may lie in balance, allowing the mind to drift when appropriate, but gently guiding it back when presence is needed. In the dance between focus and reverie, both have their place. Memory is not a recording but a reconstruction. Many people imagine memory as a kind of video recording, storing events exactly as they happened. But memory works very differently. Each time you recall something, the brain reconstructs it from scattered fragments, filling in gaps with assumptions and expectations. This process is usually seamless, but it means memories can shift, blend, or even invent details without our awareness. The reconstructive nature of memory is why eyewitness accounts can differ, and why childhood memories may feel vivid, yet be inaccurate. Rather than a fixed archive, memory is more like a storyteller, each retelling a fresh performance, shaped by who we are now, as much as by what we experienced then. In the quiet halls of the mind, the past is never quite finished. It is always being written. Every time you remember, you rebuild a memory. When you recall a memory, you do not simply retrieve a stored file. Instead, you reassemble it from pieces scattered across the brain. This act of reconstruction can subtly alter the memory each time it happens, adding new details, changing emphasis, or blending with other experiences. The more often a memory is recalled, the more it may change. This is why memories of frequently told stories can feel especially vivid, even if the details have shifted. The brain prioritizes meaning and emotion over accuracy, creating versions of the past that serve the present. In a sense, every act of remembering is also an act of creation. The memory you hold tonight may not be the same memory you hold tomorrow. Sleep is essential for memory consolidation. While you sleep, the brain is busy organizing the day's experiences, transferring them from short-term to long-term storage. This process, called consolidation, strengthens neural connections and clears space for new learning. Deep sleep and REM sleep both play important roles, with different types of memories being processed at different stages. Without enough sleep, the brain struggles to hold on to what it has learned, and memories can fade before they are fully formed. This is one reason why studying before sleep can be more effective than cramming late into the night. Sleep is not a pause from learning. It is when learning becomes lasting. In the quiet darkness, the mind weaves the threads of the day into the fabric of who you are. The hippocampus acts as your memory librarian. Nestled deep within the brain, the hippocampus plays a crucial role in forming and organizing memories. It acts like a librarian, deciding which experiences are worth keeping and where they should be stored. New memories pass through the hippocampus before being distributed to other areas of the brain for long-term storage. Damage to this region can make it difficult to form new memories, even while older ones remain intact. The hippocampus is also involved in spatial navigation, helping us remember places and routes. In many ways, it is a gateway between experience and memory. A small but vital structure that shapes our ability to carry the past into the future. You forget most of what you learn within 24 hours. The forgetting curve, first described by psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus, shows that memory fades rapidly after learning. Without reinforcement, most new information is lost within a day. This steep decline is one reason why cramming is ineffective for long-term retention. The brain prioritizes information that is repeated, meaningful, or emotionally significant. Reviewing material soon after learning, and again at spaced intervals, can dramatically slow the curve and lock information into memory. Understanding this pattern can transform how we approach learning, turning fleeting exposure into lasting knowledge. In the struggle between forgetting and remembering, timing is everything. Emotional memories are encoded more strongly. Memories tied to strong emotions, whether joy, fear, or sorrow, are stored more vividly than neutral ones. This is because the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, signals the hippocampus to prioritize these experiences. The result is a memory that feels sharper, more detailed, and easier to recall. This mechanism likely evolved to help us remember threats and rewards, guiding future behavior. While emotional memories can be a source of comfort, they can also become burdens, as in the case of trauma. The strength of emotional encoding reminds us that feeling and remembering are deeply intertwined. The moments that move us most are the ones we carry longest. The mind holds mysteries we have yet to unravel. For all that science has revealed about the brain, vast territories remain unexplored. Consciousness, the binding of senses, the origins of creativity. These are questions that continue to elude full understanding. Each answer seems to open new doors, leading to deeper puzzles and wider horizons. The mind is perhaps the last great frontier, a universe folded inside us, as complex and surprising as the cosmos itself. And maybe that is fitting. The instrument we use to explore everything else is also the one we understand the least. In the quiet wonder of that mystery lies an invitation to keep asking, keep questioning, and keep marveling at the strange gift of being aware at all. Your brain filters out most of what your senses detect. Every second, your senses gather an enormous amount of information, far more than the conscious mind could possibly process. To prevent overwhelm, the brain acts as a selective filter, discarding irrelevant data and highlighting what seems important. This is why you can tune out background noise, ignore the feeling of clothes against your skin, or stop noticing a persistent odor after a few minutes. While this filtering is essential for functioning, it also means that much of reality passes by unnoticed. The world we perceive is a curated version, shaped by attention, expectation, and past experience. In a way, the brain is both a window and a curtain, revealing what it deems meaningful and quietly hiding the rest. The sliver of reality we experience is just a narrow beam from a vast, invisible spectrum. Your thoughts can alter your body's chemistry. The mind has a remarkable ability to influence physical processes. Simply imagining a stressful event can raise cortisol levels, while visualizing calm can slow heart rate and lower blood pressure. Athletes who mentally rehearse their performances can activate the same neural pathways as actual practice. Positive thoughts and expectations have been shown to boost immune function, while chronic worry can weaken it. This mind-body connection underlies many therapeutic practices, from meditation to cognitive therapy. It is a reminder that thoughts are not just abstract ideas. They are events with physical consequences. Each pattern of thinking leaves a trace, shaping the body as much as any external force. In the quiet interplay of thought and chemistry, we hold more power than we often realize. The mystery of consciousness remains unsolved. Despite centuries of inquiry, consciousness remains one of the deepest puzzles in science. We know which brain regions are active during awareness, and we can measure changes in attention and perception. But the question of why and how physical processes give rise to subjective experience, the feeling of being new, has no accepted answer. Philosophers call this the hard problem, and it resists the tools that have solved so many other mysteries. Some believe consciousness is an emergent property of complexity. Others suggest it may be fundamental to the universe itself. Whatever the truth, consciousness is the lens through which all else is seen. And yet it is the one thing we cannot step outside to examine. In its presence we live and wonder. In its absence, there is nothing at all. And so, our journey through the mind draws to a close. We have wandered through memory and dreams. We have traced the currents of thought and emotion. We have stood at the quiet edges of what we know about ourselves. Each fact, each reflection, has been a small light in the vast inner landscape. A reminder that even in stillness, the mind is alive with wonders beyond imagining. Perhaps some of these ideas have lingered with you. Or perhaps they have already dissolved into the soft haze of approaching sleep. That is the beauty of a night spent exploring. You do not need to hold on to every detail. The mystery will still be there tomorrow, waiting for you. Think of what we have touched tonight. The way memory rebuilds itself each time you recall. The way emotion colors perception. The way your unconscious mind shapes your choices before you even know you are choosing. You are not just a passive observer of your own thoughts. You are the thoughts themselves. The observer and the observed. The dreamer and the dream. And that is a beautiful thing. So let your thoughts grow softer. Let them blur at the edges like watercolors in gentle rain. You have done enough thinking for one day. The mind that explored itself so thoroughly now deserves its rest. Feel the weight of your body, the softness of wherever you are lying, the slow rhythm of your breath. There is nothing left to understand tonight. No more facts to learn. No more insights to seek. Just a quiet comfort of knowing yourself a little better. Of understanding the strange and wonderful instrument that creates your entire experience of being alive. Your mind will continue its work while you sleep. It will dream. It will consolidate. It will heal. It will prepare you for tomorrow. You do not need to supervise any of it. Just trust the process. The same brain that has served you all day will serve you through the night. So close your eyes if they are not already closed. Let your breathing find its own rhythm. And drift. Drift through the gentle facts we have shared. Through memory and perception. Through emotion and thought. Through the quiet miracle of consciousness. And know that when you wake, you will still be the same beautiful mystery you have always been. A mind exploring itself. A universe becoming aware. Sleep well. Sweet dreams. And may you carry with you, even faintly, the knowledge that you are far more wonderful than you will ever fully understand. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the human mind. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Drowsy Discovery for more soothing explorations. There are more wonders waiting, more facts, more mysteries to drift through on quiet evenings. Rest well, and may your dreams be gentle companions through the night. This has been Drowsy Discovery. Good night.